In 2023, Joe Rogan brought up legalizing rabbit punches in fighters. This came out again recently. This is all over on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. Rogan's getting a little bit of a backlash on it. We're going to cover this topic, and we're going to talk about why rabbit punches should never be legal.
Also, it's weird that you can't hit the back of the head, because the back of the head gets hit a lot, especially with head kicks. Like, a lot of times head kicks wrap around the back of your head, and it's totally legal. Like, if two guys are standing and one guy feints and the guy throws a punch and the guy throws a head kick and the head kick hits him, bang, it wraps right around the back of the head. And that's a legal KO, which is crazy. But if you get a guy on the ground and you punch him in the back of the head, the referee take a point away, stand you up. We're talking about the sport of effective fighting, and it's very effective to punch someone in the back of the head.
Welcome to the Vandry View.
Hi, I'm William Vandry. I'm a sports injury specialist and a 6th-degree black belt in the art of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. My instructor is Master Carlos Machado, 8th degree from Brazil, as you guys know, of the Machado brothers. And so we have a lot of experience in this.
And I'm Chandra Vandry. I'm also a registered nurse and a BJJ black belt.
So why are they called rabbit punches?
The term rabbit punch dates back to the early 20th century, when hunters would quickly deliver a quick, sharp strike to the back of a rabbit's head to swiftly unalive it. In boxing or MMA, the term describes blows to the back of the head or base of the skull, which is notorious for its potential to cause severe injuries to the spinal cord and even instant death by detaching the brain from the brainstem. Rabbit punches are especially dangerous because they target the cervical vertebra, spinal cord, and brainstem.
Okay. Here are a few examples of dangerous rabbit punches.
On October 17, 2015, Pritchard Colon, a well-known boxer, was rabbit punched on the back of his head multiple times by his opponent Terrell Williams. He was rushed to the hospital where he was diagnosed with brain bleeding and underwent surgery. As a result of his injuries, he fell into a persistent vegetative state where he could no longer move or talk. As of January 2024, his speech has not returned and he remains unable to walk on his own. Francisco Frankie Leal, a Mexican fighter, died from severe brain and brainstem damage in 2013 after a match with Raul Morales. Rabbit punches were involved. He passed away 3 days later. An example outside of boxing occurred in June 2014 when a soccer referee was punched in the neck by an upset player during an amateur match. The referee passed away 2 days later and the player was charged with second-degree murder. The referee's autopsy showed the impact of the left side of the neck, just below the base of the skull, had resulted in a rare injury with twisted and torn arteries, knocking him out before he hit the ground. In 2015, the player pled guilty to manslaughter and was sentenced to 8 to 15 years.
Do rabbit punches happen in MMA? Yes, they do, and unfortunately quite often, because too often the fighters rely on the referees and the set of rules, which unfortunately may not be enforced the way they should be, but they rely on them for the safety of the fighter.
The back of the head is from the crown of the head. That's that little nodule that we all have somewhere in our skull, going straight down the back of the head, all the way down your spine, down to your tailbone, with a 1-inch variance to each side. So that's a 2-inch strip that you cannot target. When it gets to the neck, the nape of the neck, it's going to cover the entire neck. So it's going to be that strip, it's going to widen out at the neck, and it's going to narrow back down all the way down.
One more point I'd like to make is about Joe Rogan saying the foot wraps around to the back of the head during a kick. Without going into a whole physics lecture, the main force of the kick is at the point of impact, where the foot or the shin is hitting the neck or the head. Most of the force or power of the kick has already been absorbed, with very little force left in the wraparound of the foot.
No offense to Joe Rogan, but when you look at the anatomy and the physiology, makeup of the whole neurological system in the brain, the spinal cord, rabbit punches should never be allowed. They should always be illegal due to the impact, due to the trauma, which is caused or can cause what's called a TBI, which TBI, traumatic brain injuries, can be a minor one or a major one. The major ones are worse statistics because major TBIs don't have a very high recovery rate. So when you're looking at TBIs or any type of those traumas, especially the back, you have the cerebellum, you have basically, when you're looking at your four lobes, you have your parietal, you have in the back the temporal, and you have your occipital lobes. These are for eyesight, these are for speech, movement, things like that. When those are damaged, they're damaged and you can't repair those. That's why they have rules for that, Joe. That's why you have to be safe for the fighters, any type of rabbit punches. By the way, Joe, there was a few years ago, I'm John Fitch's nutritionist. Yes, I'm the one who kind of put John back together again. He had a lot of issues, and he's doing great now. As you see, he's still in good shape and everything like that. Actually, you and Big John McCarthy were talking about me on your podcast. I met Big John at the 2018 Bellator, and we talked a little bit about his, surgeries himself and some injuries and things like that. And we talked about, John Fitch and his recovery and a lot of nutrition. I worked with him, and it was a great conversation, and he was talking to you on the show. And I remember him saying, there's this guy that John Fitch talks about, this guy put together. He goes, can't remember his name. I'm like, William Vandry, that's me. So
But I wasn't aware of his neck injury.
Big time.
So it was a bulging disc or something along those lines?
He had a stenosis and bulging disc and big problems with, he would get hit and his entire side would go.
Fuck. And how did he fix that? I mean, what?
In talking to him, he said, I started doing a nutritional, and he says I take like 40 different pills a day. I wish I could remember the guy who
When you say
set
pills,
him up.
you don't mean medication,
Yeah,
right?
no,
You mean
supplements.
Nutrients.
Supplements for bone things and opening of blood vessels and all these different things.
I'll reach out to him because I'd love to hear about that.
Man,
It's really interesting.
It is interesting, and it's great that he was able to find that person that what this guy told him to do has worked for him.
So that's all we have for today. Stay safe out there.